I think we have enough of an audience to begin. Second. Right. You are on two views, Omar.
That's strange. So the first one crashed on me, and I guess it didn't kick me out of the meeting.
I
So,
thought I had somebody else joining, but it was Omar again.
all right. Well,
You know
I
what
don't
they
know what
say,
happened to
two
the first
Omars are better
Omar.
than one.
Yes.
I hear that a lot, actually. Actually, I hear
He's
the
really
opposite,
passionate about public campaign financing.
That's right. He's so excited about it. There are two of them. There you go. That is what the good news is that you are frozen in a very happy state as opposed to one of those weird, awkward, half eyeball open, mouth somewhat open.
You know what? I'll take that. A win is a win, I guess.
There you go.
So happy New Year, everybody. I hope your break, that it was a break and it was good. And welcome to the Baltimore City Fair Election Fund Commission monthly meeting. Today is January 10th, 2024. And I am required to let everyone know that this meeting is public and is being recorded. So with that, I will share my screen so that we can, if you did not receive the agenda, we can briefly touch on each point. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
So our agenda tonight, one, we will approve December's minutes. I think we have a quorum. Then Charlie will give us the chair's update. Then we have the vice chair's report. I am not the vice chair, but John allows me to sort of hang on his coattail and give a little bit of an update for my takeaways. Then we have guidelines for the fund commissioners campaign. I'm not sure if that has been addressed yet. I know that the commission has reached out to Jeff in the law department. I'm not sure where that stands. Then we've had some other updates that I gave examples for that I know Charlie had a takeaway for me to share. And I've attached that so we can take a quick look at that. And I thought, oh yeah, there that is. And then also the what the report looks like for Alan. I'm trying to think. Alan has a summary update. This is not it. I just received it from Erin, who is Alan's new hire.
Okay.
Old new hire. She was with the state, fortunately, so she has a lot of institutional knowledge, and she has updated the campaign reporting schedule for me to make sure all of the dates were correct as we really get into the election cycle. So with that, we can go back up and Charlie, you can approve December's minutes.
So, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from December?
Do we have enough people?
I
I think
think,
we're one short.
are we? Okay, let's see.
There are
Five.
five
Oh,
of us.
We have our quorum is 6. We are.
okay,
So
we
let's
can,
move that down,
okay,
and I will send a message, try to send a message to Sam and Anwar
And Wario.
to join us.
okay.
So it according to MD Chris, there are now 5 red candidates that are registered. Only one has been certified now, or are we saying did Blanchard campaign get certified? Is that the update? No. Okay.
Would you, okay. They are close.
Okay. And
Yeah,
then
we're working
I
on
think
that.
Omar, do you have to now wait until the February, or no? You got it in, and so it's just being processed.
Yeah, well, that was actually something I was going to ask because I was speaking to Zach and he was under the impression there was some sort of deadline today. I wasn't sure exactly what it's for, but just to cut a long story short, we didn't get the signatures that were required the first time around, so
Okay.
we're collecting those from our donors so that we can
Okay.
resubmit, and hopefully this will be the last time we're resubmitting that initial report that we have.
Okay.
And
Um,
I'm sorry. And
Go ahead.
Charlie, that note that I have for the Blanchard campaign actually came to me from Allen today
Okay.
at the State Board of Elections. So they are in the process of their resubmission, and they have until the 18th of January to be in compliance.
Okay. Thank you for that update. And so there's one candidate that is and that is fully qualified for the program and has been receiving um, funds, money from the fund. It looks like that the sticking point that we had from the first filing, the Workday portal, it looks like that has been set up for at least two of the accounts, two of the campaigns. So that was a hurdle. We fixed that problem, and that's really good news. The system's now working much more smoothly. And I guess the last one is that finance now sends instructions and tips for setting up the supplier vendor portal, the Workday portal, along after the board of the State Board of Elections sends a welcome letter for those candidates that are have registered for the program.
Did you want to just look at it
we-
briefly?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if I can open it.
Okay.
I know you wanted to see what that looked like. And let's see, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so as soon as a candidate or campaign registers an MD Chris, I check it daily and I send out, irregardless of the status of qualifying at that point, I send out what I call my welcome letter. And it's sort of redundant, but it also alerts the campaign that there is a two-step category, one for the state and one for the city, to ensure that their disbursements are made correctly and timely. And this is the letter that from our last meeting, I took the notes from to include some helpful tips that we determined, as Charlie stated, were some hurdles that we needed to try and clarify to make this process more smooth. And so with that, we were able to identify a procurement representative, a designated one who is well-versed in Workday, that is very good and interested in helping any new campaign get set up. I'm not sure if, Omar, you had the opportunity to work with Kevin when your campaign portal had a question, I think, that needed to be answered. Or maybe yours went through smoothly after I sent out the welcome letter. I'm not sure.
I don't think I spoke to Kevin directly, but I know Nadine, you did send some feedback that he had on the initial registration or initial
Okay,
submission, where he had to update the W-9 and some of the fields in there.
correct. So this is part of the addition to a couple of the things that we've learned from to benefit us from your campaign portal, as well as our first campaign candidate. And so with that, we just included the representative. We gave you a note to really pay attention to the W-9 and the correctness of it, and then just some more redundancy about helpful notes before you actually push send to avoid it being sent back for further review. And then the rest of it is simply a restatement of the resources that you can find on the Baltimore City Fair Election Fund website, which I'm sure most of you have seen. So that's that.
Excellent. I think it's better to be redundant and make sure that there's some clarity, and that folks don't miss this step. And
Yes.
then, thank you, Nadine.
You're welcome.
The last thing that I will say as part of my report is that there was, actually it's coming up in the third, I'll pause because it's coming up in the Vice Chair's report. So I'll stop there and I'll turn it back to over to John and Nadine for the Vice Chair's report.
Great, thanks so much, Charlie. I got really excited what you were about to say, but we'll wait. And Nadine, it's not that I'm allowing you to ride my coattails. I need you to do these, so I appreciate your
I
being
appreciate
humble
you too.
about that.
Thank you for that.
So yeah, well, in that vein, the latest on the translating the documents, I guess we've realized we can't. We need to wait for the contract or find out about the contract. Yep, now you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's correct. I actually communicated with the mayor's office again this week. And like other procurements, they have not received any feedback. So as soon as we do, then we can get the earlier documents translated. And then going forward, I'm told that we should wait for Drupal 10, which should be next month. And then every document that we generate will be able to have, we'll have the capacity to translate without having to use the contractual services.
Okay. Very good. Very good. And then we've made the appropriate updates, the clarifications and corrections for videos.
Correct.
Guide.
I corrected the training video to reflect the correct language for this portion of the legislation. I updated the FAQs where it spoke to that as well as the summary guide, which was actually just updated a couple of hours ago and is ready for review. It should be live on the website according to our tech folks.
Great. Just as a quick note, Sam just joined, or is in the process of joining us. And so on to the update. So I know we talked about this a little earlier, but we have William Thomas is in process, and is going to, at least what we heard, if I remember correctly, Charlie, is that on the 18th of this month, he'll be going through a hearing. So the hope is that by February, and it looks like William has joined us as well. So that we'll have our 8th member of the commission joining us. And Nadine, you did not hear anything more on the other 3 positions from the council president's office. Is that also correct?
I have not.
Yeah, and that's as of this morning or yesterday? Was
as of yesterday, but I
Right.
also checked the pending. Sometimes things may get lost in translation between
Sure.
legislation and the mayor's office. I also checked the pending or upcoming meetings,
okay.
and I didn't see anything pending for any more nominations out there.
Great. Well, thanks for taking the extra step there and checking for that. And then we move on to the budget. We discussed this last time about the potential for the funds, additional funds as more candidates come online. And you share here the response that you received that the funds that have been allocated will be the extent of the funds for this cycle, and that we should not count on nor are there any plans to include any additional funds in FY25, the cycle that would start July 1 of this calendar year. Is that an accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
So we started talking about this a little bit earlier, and we paused. We sort of a side conversation in advance of the meeting, but this obviously raises some issues if we have, and we're seeing some good uptake so far with the program. So it could raise some issues with the availability of sufficient funds. We do have, in statute, the process for dealing with those funds when they're not sufficient. But there is nothing in statute that requires them to add funds every year. And the one clarification that I think we're all aware of is that these funds can't be pulled out, and that at the end of the cycle, the funds remain, if there are any left over, will remain with the Fair Election Fund and be applied to the next cycle. What that then raises is questions, right? Questions about how do we ensure that this fund is viable in the next cycle, in the hopes that there'll be even more candidates now that it won't be a new program at that point. I wanted to share one thing that was in the Howard County legislation, which required the commission in Howard County would make a recommendation each fiscal year for an amount to be included in the budget for their public financing fund, and that if in that instance, if the county executive was not going to fund it, they had to explain why. That there had to be some justification for, and the council as well, some justification for why the amounts recommended weren't being covered, and then it shouldn't be an issue though for withdrawing funds. It had to be an extreme circumstance for them to be able to take funds out of this of the fund. But there might be a need for some additional legislation around that issue.
We the way the law outlines is that we are this commission is charged with, it says on or before January 1st, so we're a little late. Issue a report to the mayor and city council, an estimate of the funds necessary to implement the campaign finance system for the following fiscal year, a recommendation for the appropriation to the fund for the following fiscal year, and if necessary, any recommendations for dedicated sources of funding. So what we know is, what the information we're getting back that we just got from the finance department, the budget department, that, there would not be any additional funds. I think that is sort of irrelevant to the report that we're supposed to issue. We
Right.
know that they're not planning to put money in, but if we still are concerned that that we might run out in this election cycle, then we need to make that recommendation that there be funds allocated for it.
Right.
So we're on record, even if that advice isn't taken. It does not say, other than that, there are no rules regarding whether or not our advice has to be taken, just that we need to
Provide the advice. Yeah.
provide the advice. At this point,
Right.
we are within 5 months of the primary, and there's only 5 candidates have registered for the program. Even if all 5 of those were candidates that wanted that were applying for were running for offices that got the boost, it seems like for this election cycle, the $2 million that we have would be sufficient. But going forward,
that was right. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say that one piece of information that that would be helpful is when we have who are the registered candidates, or what are their offices. So I know we have, but how many of them are council? I know we have one council president.
Give me 1 second. I actually gave Bob sending me a synopsis today. Hold on 1 second. Let's see if I can share my screen.
So that we can do the math and see if they max, as you're saying, Charlie, if they max out, the 5 registered candidates all max out, if we're still okay. But when you're talking, one thing that came to mind is there's and I don't know how we resolve it, that there's a bit of a misalignment, right? Because candidates can have up until February 1, right? We decided was when they can jump in. So at least there needs to be some adjustment potentially to the legislation, or at least a handshake understanding that for the actual year of the election, that we have at least until that date. So we have a firm number for the candidates who qualify, right? And then we can at least do the math, submitting that in election year on, say a week after the 1st of February. So maybe January 1st, each of the first 3 years of a cycle, but then February 15th or something like that for the cycle that is in the midst of the election year. It's obviously a lot better way of saying that, because then we'd have a better sense. Obviously, we can make a pretty good estimation as to what it looks like, a little bit based on this example when we go into the next cycle, but this year's example. But I think that even next time around, we're going to still not really have a good sense of how many campaigns are going to be eligible until we get to that February timeframe.
Correct.
That's actually excellent, and that is identical to the conversation that I had with Bob earlier today.
No.
If you can see my screen, I printed out and shared with him what we have so far, and the offices sought. So we have president for city council. That's Sneed, of course, who is certified and qualified to date, including her boost. She's received about $168,000. Omar, you can correct me, because this number I'm guesstimating from what the state had shared with me previously, and it does not include your one-time boost for your candidate. But for
city council doesn't get a boost.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, they do not. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's president for city council that does. Oh, right?
Mayor and president.
Okay. Yeah. And then we have Stephen Johnson for city council, Robin for city council, and then Wendy Bozel for mayor.
So we have 2 that qualify for the boost, and then 3 others that are running for council. Okay. All right.
And Charlie, you said comptroller as well, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So there we go. There's offices. The schedule. Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. So, that'll help.
Right. So.
And you don't feel that, I guess we'd have to estimate. We can do some estimation and to see if we're going to be short or not.
Can you go back, Nadine, to the chart that you just had that had the max, that had the max amounts and the boost? Yeah.
Yeah. There you
go.
So
if we're looking at that, if we're looking at, even if city council president maxes out at 375, and we have another 5 from the 4 city council people, then we're still, at that point, we're less than $1 million, and
it's actually exactly $2.5 million.
Yeah. So
all five of
And
them.
that's
Well,
if
the max.
all of them could max out.
Yeah, if all five
But
max
this is
out.
also, saying that, and I don't know, but we also have to think that this is the whole cycle. So if there are Republicans that are running or Green Party members that are running who would also be able to use the fund, then we're coming close. But I think we can safely say that this cycle, this is enough, but it will leave us very low. And if and I think our recommendation should be that in future years that there be some contribution to the fund so that we can ensure 4 years from now that there is an adequate amount of money, because we can look at the other jurisdictions. The first time the program is run, the second time the program is run, there are far more participants than the first time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we should absolutely expect that. One question I had for you, Charlie, is in your checking in on, or Nadine for that matter, with the Board of Elections, do we have? Is it just 5 campaign accounts have been set up for elections in Baltimore? So we don't have more than the 5. Okay. I was just wondering if there were a couple that were set up but yet haven't gone through the process beyond setting up the account.
No, just that 5 so far.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, this is obviously months ago when the Republican Party had their event. There seemed to be a fair amount of enthusiasm from a couple of them that they were going to participate, but they've got, I guess, a couple more weeks to do that. So.
Okay. Thank you, Nadine.
Okay, so let me just see if there's anything else. Anything else on the budget amount? Any other commissioners have any comments, thoughts? All right.
Are we in agreement that we need to send the recommendations, as outlined, even though we've been told that there will be no additional funds?
Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't mean it's not needed. Just means that the need won't potentially be met. But I think it would be appropriate.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't remember who mentioned it, but there's evidence that the second cycle, there's definitely more demand for the funds. I mean, I think that's honestly a really strong argument for, continuing to fund the fund when we can point to other places to see just what that trend looks like. So, we have evidence. I mean, that's quantifiable, not just quantitative. So I think that's a real strong point.
Yeah, a very, very good point, Tracy. Because then the other part of it is just from a fiscal management standpoint, it's a tight budget right now, but putting a little bit more in now, even if it's not used, will be easier than a bigger amount later. And certainly a recommendation, we could suggest that if we're looking at least 5 million, assuming it's double the number of candidates, then this cycle, which I think, again, as Tracy just alluded to, is not is evidence based. And we can look at those kinds of numbers. That doing 5 million for the 28 cycle will be a lot less painful if we're doing $1.25 million a year as opposed to 5 million in FY 27 or 28.
Is 5 million the goal that we're trying to get to?
I'm just throwing the number out,
Okay.
but if we just use gross numbers, and we're thinking that that it'll be twice as many participants next year, I think in our situation, it could be even more than that, right? If you forgive my ignorance about this, but are there not term limits that are going to start taking effect
Actually, yes, this is the
And
year that
so,
term limits take effect.
so I mean, I think there's probably a really good argument to me that we could have 3-4 times as many candidates because of the number of open seats, right? The fact that there aren't that many open seats this cycle is a good indication as to why we don't have as many people participating. But an open seat is certainly an invitation for potentially many more people to jump in. So that's a factor that's going to weigh heavy on the next cycle.
Thank you. That's a very good point.
Yeah, good stuff. Anybody else on this particular point? I think the last couple of things are pretty straightforward. So Nadine, anything on on these openings at the oh, I skipped over the one. Yeah, so we're still holding off on our briefing now, potentially with William joining us. Perhaps next month might be a good time to put a placeholder in for the state board.
Okay, I will shoot that off to Alan and see what
Yes,
Jared's schedule
works for that.
looks like. He's a busy
Yeah.
person in his
Yeah.
new role.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I've had the opportunity
I'll send that to him tomorrow, in
him.
fact.
Okay, very good.
I've had the opportunity to talk with Alan and to do some problem solving, and I think he's going to be really really helpful, a really good partner. He seems really interested in the program and wanting to make sure that it gets off the ground and that we're successful. So
that's fantastic. Okay, so with that,
Excuse me one second.
Sure.
I'm sorry. And to Charlie's point, I had the opportunity to meet with Erin Dennis today, and I feel the same way. And she's really excited to move into the new role. She's been with the state for some time, but this role is new for her. And she had some training with the outgoing staff, so that's good.
Right. So is it likely that acting will be removed and she will?
That's what I think. Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay.
I think that's Alan's intention.
Great. Very good. Okay. If there's nothing else on that, then the next one is about guidelines for fund commissioners campaign activities. Jeff did give a quick update in an email earlier that the ethics board is meeting, I believe tonight, actually, maybe right now as we are meeting. And so hopefully they'll be able to come back and provide some additional guidance to us. And I think that was based on our meeting last month was our plan is let's try and hear from them, and then we can have our conversation internally about based on what they're saying and what we all believe. Just as a quick reiteration from last month, general response or guidance being that at least from a standpoint of what we can do, contributing is certainly allowed. That part I think we've established. But some of the other activities we're just waiting to hear back from the ethics board, and then we can continue our conversation from there. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. So I think that covers that item. I'm sorry I jumped in there just because I think I was the one who raised it last time, and I know I think we're all on that email with Jeff, but just wanted to hear that for the public's benefit. So I'll hand it back to you, Charlie, for other updates, and Nadine, other updates.
The only other one I have, and let's see if I can share my screen. Excuse me, it just came in from Erin this evening. This is the reporting schedule for the entire election cycle that we are currently in. I was way wrong in my dates. All of this purple that you see are corrections. So what I will do is update this tomorrow. I will also update the summary guide on the website, but what I will do for each of the commission members is send you your own copy so
Okay.
that you will have it, because I think Alan, as it turns out, has an unrevised copy altogether on the state side, which is not good. I had a revised copy before the transition of Diane and Ebony, but several of my dates, as you see, were not correct.
Okay.
So I will update this. I will fix all the purple and send it to each commission member tomorrow, as well as update the summary guide for the state as well as for our website.
Okay. And can we, once this is corrected, can we also, for the candidates that have already are pending or have already qualified, can we send this updated schedule to them so that we know they also have the new
Absolutely.
schedule?
Yeah, I will. Yes. Yes.
Nadine,
Oh,
if I can just ask a quick question. I see for the
Sure.
2024 annual report, there's that deadline of 110. So just so that I understand correctly, does that mean all the contributions and expenditures that our campaign has had up until December 19th of last year has to be submitted by today?
Yes, and Alan, I'm not sure how hard and fast that date is. I talked to Alan about that. There are two caveats.
Mm-hmm.
One, they realize we're new and the campaign is a little, the campaigns are getting up to speed, right? And then we
Yeah.
have one candidate uh, that their query, in other words, the cutoff was December 15th. So we have
Mm-hmm.
one candidate, for example, who didn't register until January 8th. So she would not be captured in that query for that report. So we have a couple of caveats that we need to pay attention to anyway. I would say go ahead and submit the report, but I don't think you'll be penalized. What you don't want to happen, I will speak with Alan again tomorrow that you brought that up specifically. We don't want your category status to go into out of compliance on the campaign reporting website,
Yes. Yeah.
because
Because
you can
I
be
know,
penalized for that. And once that gets into the system, then it's hard to correct on the state side.
of course. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Because, I mean, we're doing our best to resubmit the report, but I do think that there might be, um, because we're focused on submitting the 12.5 report
Yes,
that we were amending, we haven't necessarily gotten a chance to submit a subsequent report for other contributions that occurred after 12.5.
yes.
And those I worry, along with expenditures that we won't get in um, by tonight, essentially.
But Alan is very aware of that. So if I will call him, but what I would do is give him a call also, because your campaign was actually an example of
Mm-hmm.
where we are with reporting and the correct dates, and just this being our first time through the program. And your
Okay.
resubmission period started over, essentially.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I have his number, so I'll reach out
Okay,
to him
great.
separately.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Nadine.
okay. Before we go to FAQs, can we go back to the first thing on our agenda and approve the minutes from December 2023?
I make a
We have a
motion to
quorum.
approve the
Thank
minutes.
you, Paris. Can I have a
Second.
second? Thank you, John. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Minutes are approved and adopted. Thank you very much. If we go back down, I think if we have William Thomas on the call on the in the meeting, and I don't know, but I want to put you on the spot, Ms. Thomas, but Would you like to introduce yourself?
He doesn't want to put me on the spot and then proceeds to put me on the spot. Good evening,
It's all good.
everyone. As Sally mentioned, my name is William Tipper Thomas. I'm guessing I'll be confirmed sometime next week to be a part of this commission, and just looking to learn and see how I can, you know, help us move forward with developing this commission and seeing how I can be of service to the city of Baltimore.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you, William.
Welcome
Thank you.
or
I'm happy to be here.
pre-welcome.
Mhm. A pre-welcome, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to go to FAQs now, or if there are any questions? Omar, did you have questions that you wanted to raise that haven't been answered?
Really, the only other question I have is the timeline for funds distribution once we resubmit our report. I'm not sure if assuming we send that in today, does that mean I assume we'll be waiting until February, right? Because the 18th is I think the next date, and it's a little bit too close.
Dean, I think the fund distribution is more once it's been certified, then it's what are the business days? It's shorter than that.
It's the,
Go
isn't
ahead,
it,
Nadine.
is it the Tuesday? Let's see. You can follow report. I forgot what the timeline is, and it's in the summary guide.
What they're trying to stick to is that you get that they approve your filing within, I think it's within 10 days, and then we have and then this commission approves it, and the city is trying to get it out within 5 days of that. So we're looking at within 15 days.
Okay, 15 business days, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So-
All right.
So
That makes
that's the timeline we're trying to stick within.
Got it. Okay. So we'll say about 3 weeks then from submission. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Charlie.
Okay. And the final thing on our list, and this might be a long discussion. I sent out an email to you all earlier this week that asking about changes to this meeting time and or changing the date. I realize it might be easier to change the time than to change the date. John has let me know that he has a conflict that prohibits him from joining the meeting at 5 o'clock. I didn't ask this, John, but I assumed that you might be able to make a later date, a later start.
Yeah, I teach from 4:30 to 5:45.
Okay. Does anyone else, because we set up this time, back in the fall, has anyone else's time schedule changed so that making it difficult for them to make a Wednesday evening meeting? How do people feel about pushing this meeting time back to start at 6:15? People good with that? You wanna?
Would folks be up for a little bit later than that?
Is this just a one-time move?
This would be just at least through the spring, through the election.
I don't know if I
Through the primary. Yeah, no, I wrap up in May, end of April.
Is there no option to move it up earlier, I guess, for some folks?
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer during the day if folks report.
Yeah, that's a little late for me to jump on at 6:15.
How do folks feel about moving it earlier?
That could work.
I mean,
Give
if I
me
could
one
come
second.
as a non-commissioner, earlier in the day would be a bit of a challenge for me just with work conflicts.
Yeah.
But I think 5:30 for me at least is ideal.
I do think that I'm fine with moving it to the day, but I do think that having it during the workday would just generally make this a less accessible meeting to the public.
Yeah, I agree with that.
How'd folks feel about 7?
I think that that's a problem for LaShonda.
Okay.
You're on mute, LaShonda.
Sorry, I couldn't do 7. I can do earlier, or I can keep the same time at 5 on a different day.
What other, is there other days that work for folks? The Monday.
Tuesday, so Monday, I have the same problem. Monday, I teach Monday, Wednesday. Yeah, so Tuesday, Thursday at 5.
I teach
And
Work.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Are we looking at still the second week of each month?
Yeah. Well, I think the second, this might be something that we have to do offline in like a doodle poll, because I
Yeah.
think that and what I think the easiest thing is if folks can share or respond to that email with what days don't work and times don't work for you. And then we can try to work around that.
Do we want to constrain it, Charlie, to 5 o'clock or later? I think Paris's point is well made in terms of accessibility.
Yes, I'd agree that 5 o'clock or later. But not too late, because we're going to lose LaShonda at a certain time.
When do you wrap up teaching on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Charlie?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9. so it's yeah. It's from 5:45 to 9. But you're having the same problem on Mondays. But if it's one day a week, I might be, if it's 1 day a month, I can probably work around that and try not to. So I'm open to doing a Tuesday. I'm open to doing a Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, another option is it potentially is less problematic with more commissioners coming on, is if maybe we start a little later, so start at 5:30 and I can sign on late. The only challenge would be I could be as late as half an hour with students departing the room and answering questions and such. But that's one option. So to your point, I'm sorry, we can just send some dates and
We'll send
time.
something around.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. And we will try to keep it not go too late into the evening.
Yeah.
And again, thank you all. Is there anything else? Does anyone have any new business? Okay. I will work with Nadine on a draft of our recommendations or report back our recommendations to the council and then circulate it to you all so that we're in compliance with our duties. And then you can all comment on what you think.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, and then you will let me know what the new meeting schedule will be so that I can update the public website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We'll figure it out together. And so you'll be in the loop.
So
Okay.
as of
I follow
now,
your lead. I'm good with whatever you pick.
so as of now, we don't have a next meeting scheduled or set, right?
Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for the second Wednesday of February, which is February 13th. And
14th.
yes, I'm sorry, 14th. Oh, which,
Valentine's Day.
because I love you all so much. So we can come back and revisit that within the next week, so we can give ample notice to folks. Sound good?
Yes.
Thank you all for joining this evening. Thank you to our guests, Omar and William Tipper Thomas. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned. I should say, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a good
Good night.
night.
Thank you, everyone.